and Communication Technology presents Educational Satellite Television Programs.
Hello, teacher. Hello, students. Welcome to today's lesson on fluid statistics. During our last lesson, we defined Pascal's principle. We learned that it deals with liquids rather than gases. This is because when pressure is applied to liquids, the pressure is transmitted throughout the entire liquid and against the walls of the container. However, if pressure is applied to gases, they compress. During that lesson, we also used Pascal's principle to explain the function of hydraulics and to describe the function and use of siphons. In today's lesson, we are going to discuss a different principle, Archimedes' principle. We will talk about what this principle is, and we will explain the difference between apparent and true weight. We will also talk a little bit about the flotation principle. Let us begin. Archimedes' principle is named after Greek physicist Archimedes of Syracuse, who is credited with discovering this law. He stated that any floating object displaces its own weight of fluid. This means that when an object is placed into a fluid, an amount of fluid that is equal to the weight of the object will be pushed aside to make room for the object. Ice in a drink is a perfect example of Archimedes' principle. When a cube of ice is placed into a glass of liquid, the liquid is displaced to make room for the ice. The amount of liquid that is displaced is equal to the weight of the ice cube that is put in. Therefore, a larger solid piece of ice will displace more liquid than a smaller solid piece of ice. Students, let us do an activity. What happens if a piece of ice is placed into a glass of water that is already filled to the brim of the glass?
Students, let's get ready. Time's up. Let's get back to our lesson.
Welcome back, students. Did your glass of water overflow? Mine has as well. If we put an ice cube into a glass of water that is already filled to the brim, the water will displace or overflow over the top of the glass. Archimedes discovered this law while he was in the bathtub, rather than by putting ice into water. The story goes like this. King Hiero had ordered a new gold crown. Upon receiving it, the king suspected that the jeweler who made his new crown had cheated him by mixing silver with the gold. The king asked Archimedes to find a way to check the crown without damaging it. While Archimedes was in the tub one day, he came up with a solution. Eureka! Archimedes noticed that his body displaced water, causing the water in the tub to rise. Since gold is denser than silver, it takes up less space. Therefore, when Archimedes put an amount of gold equal to the weight of the king's crown in a bowl of water, it displaced less water than the king's crown, proving that the crown was mixed with silver. The jeweler was punished, and Archimedes' principle was created. When we are talking about weight with regards to Archimedes' principle, an object's true weight is its weight with respect to the earth and the earth's gravitational pull. This is the weight something would have if it were put on a scale. An object's apparent weight is its buoyancy force, subtracted from its true weight. Buoyant force is the weight of the fluid an object displaces. Therefore, you could also say that an object's apparent weight is the weight of its displaced fluid subtracted from its true weight. The flotation principle, or the law of flotation, states that if an object's buoyant force is the same as its weight, it will float. Therefore, in order for an object to float, it has to displace a volume of liquid or gas equal to its own weight. An iceberg, for example, displaces a volume of water that is equal to its weight. This allows it to float. Students, let us test your knowledge on things that float and things that sink. In a moment, you will see a list of things. Put these things into two groups: things that float in water and things that sink in water.
Students, let's get ready. Time's up. Let's get back to our lesson.
Welcome back, students. Were you able to figure out which items float and which items sink? Boats, balloons, and feathers float in water because they displace a volume of water that is equal to their weight. Rocks and coins, however, do not. This means they sink. In today's lesson, we learned how it is possible for a huge ship like this one to float despite its tremendous weight. The ship displaces a volume of water equal to its own weight. If it did not, it would sink. This is called the flotation principle, or the law of flotation. We talked about Archimedes' principle, including the story of how he discovered it. We also distinguished apparent weight from true weight. An object's apparent weight is its buoyant force subtracted from its true weight. An object's true weight is its weight with respect to the earth. This is all for today's lesson. Until next time, thank you, teacher. Thank you, students.